In this video, I'm going to show you how to add verse markers in Reaper. So let's get started. Having verse markers is very helpful and kind of important because you can produce products by using these verse markers. One of the main reasons I like verse markers is when you're proofing or doing the recording, someone will say, oh, can we go back to verse 23? And I can quickly see that verse 23 is right here, and I can play it back to them. When I'm proofing it, I tell them to let me know right away. But many times, they wait all the way to the end of the chapter, and they'll say, oh, can you go back all the way back to verse 1? So you just come back to verse 1, you find it right there, and then you can start listening to it, and then you can make the corrections if there needs to be corrections. Another thing is for the Scripture app. The Scripture app builder and people like that, and it will highlight the text, and having these verse markers is important so the app knows at what time it needs to highlight verse 2, then when to highlight verse 3. Another product is the Scripture slideshows. We send all our audio off to somebody, and he makes the Scripture app for us. But he also makes Scripture slideshows for us. So it's very helpful for him to have this so he can make those slideshows for us. The Lumo videos, they need to have these verse markers here when they're trying to line it up. So these verse markers, they will divide typically it up by verse and be able to drop it into their shells. And then there's also going to be other products that come down the line, and we can go back to these recordings and be able to make these products because we've already marked the verses. To help you know how to mark the verses, we use the Scripture app builder way of marking. And so this is kind of our standard. So you go to the Scripture app builder resources page, and I'll have a link down below. And then you come down to number 6 here, using Audacity to audio text synchronization. So you click on that, and yes, I know it's for Audacity, but how you mark it is the same if it's for Audacity or if it's for Reaper. So here you have this file, and then you go down to section 1, and it will explain how things need to be marked. So it needs to be marked by the verses. The sections heads need to be marked as S1, S2, and I'll explain it in this document. But then your output file needs to be the timing in seconds. So you see down here, this is the timing in seconds. Then the timing again in seconds, and then the verse number. There's other ways to mark too. If you want to mark phrases or sentences, you can mark it here. So you can read about this. I won't explain it all right here. And then they have the getting started. But then when you get into section 3 here, this is how you do it in Audacity. And I will explain how you put the markers in Reaper. In the Scripture app builder manual, it'll tell you how to mark the verses here. But one thing that we do is at the end of the book, we put a marker called end. It doesn't have to be at the very thing here, but we have a guy that does our Scripture app for us, and he likes to have a span, a region from 35 to 36. But if there's nothing at the very end, it's hard to figure out where to make the span or region from 36 to the end. So we put this end marker. It's not hard to do. It doesn't hurt anything if it's not used. But later on, when I do post-production, I will show you how to make regions from here. And you have to have that end there, or it doesn't know where the end is or the last region, this 36 region will be. To insert a marker, it's just the action. If you go up to here and you go to show action list and you say insert marker, you'll see down here there's going to be some things. Let me scroll it up a little bit. It says marker, insert, and or edit marker at current position. So this one here, you can just insert it at a current position, but when you do that, it will just put the marker and you can't edit it. And what you want to do is when you're recording along, you add the marker. So you want the dialog box to pop up so that you can put the verse number in. So we're going to record. And so when we go along here, we want to add a marker. We can just hit the shortcut key that we have to add a marker. And then we can enter in a 1. And then it puts the marker here for verse 1. And we want to do verse 2. Okay, we hit the key. We put in a 2. But the problem is, see, I missed here, and I want to move it back. Now, if I go to insert a marker using this method, it will put it all the way back here. So when I enter, I'll hit a 3. And you can see that I put the marker all the way back here because this is where the cursor head was. So that's not very helpful, and it's really frustrating to have to. There is a way that you can do it, as you're going along here, and then you put in a marker, and I'm not keeping track of the numbers, and then you move it around, and you go, oh, now I moved it around. So now when you want to put in a marker, you have to click here, then you can put in the marker, and then you can add the marker in. And so that's one way of doing it. But I have a custom action, so you don't have that problem. When you move this around, it will put the marker where it is. And so you go up to Actions, Show Actions, and here I have it. I made it Insert Marker at Playhead Location. You can call it whatever you want. I have this information in the notes down below, because if you can't read this right here, it's a little bit hard. But the first thing that you do is View, Move, Edit Cursor to Play Cursor. So when this play cursor is moving along, when you press the button, it will move it to where the play cursor is, and then it will do the insert and or edit marker at cursor position. So I can sit here and I can record, and then I can put in a marker. Okay, and then I can just take this guy and I can move him around. I can edit, I can move this guy around. Now it's moving these here, but it doesn't really matter because now when I hit the key, it put it at the correct location. So that custom action is quite helpful. As you notice here, this is John chapter 3. So you can see that these markers are hard. I don't know what the default colors are, but there's something like this. And you see that the 119 is almost easier to see than the verse number 30. And it's like, how do you hide this 119? And how do you make this stand out more? And when you're doing recording, I'll just come here and I'll just do a record. You can see that it's almost hard to see it because it's red and it's just hard to see. So we're going to change the colors. And if you have the SWS plugins, you can do this. So you go up to Actions, Show List, and then you put in Themes, THEM. Okay, down here, and I'll have this down in the notes so you can look it up. Theme Development, Show Theme Tweak Configuration. So you double click on that and it'll open up this dialog box. And now there's all these colors that you can change in Reaper. But what we're going to do here is for markers and regions. So I'm going to type in marker, and here is the markers right here. And so the marker color is like this reddish color. And my coworker showed me how to change these colors here. And we use yellow. So we go to here, yellow, because it stands out well. And then we change this text to yellow. And so we come down here, this gray, and make that yellow. And it does two things. It made the marker number go away because it's the same color, and you can see this a little bit better. But I like to take the background color, and so it's this right here, and I like to make that black. So now it really pops out and it stands out. So you can see it real easy when you're going along. So those stand out much easier. And then when you're recording, you can see it really well. So I like that, and I want to thank my coworker for that. Then also, we use regions when we're doing recording of chapters in one file. And so we have regions, and I like those to stand out better. So, okay, so regions. And so the region, I like it to be blue. I like it to stand out. So I click on blue. Oh, let's make it a brighter blue. Blue there. And then the text, I want it to be text to be black. Yes, and that's good. And then the background color to be black also. So then that will make it really stand out. And now when I make a region, it's blue. You can see the number really well. And so that's how you change the colors there. Now the exporting of the markers I will handle in a later video. When I do post-production, I will show you how to export it. If you do the export from here, it won't give you in the format that the Scripture app wants it. You can manipulate it, but I will teach you how to do that in the post-production part of exporting markers. Please subscribe, like, and share this video, and check out these other videos of mine.